the Knicks have, after that Taj Gibson signing, and I want to preface this by saying everything, all of the money that the Knicks have remaining right now, which is between $7 and $10 million, is based on the way that they structure contracts and when they sign certain players, right? So if they sign Derrick Rose last, they can go over the cap. They have an early bird exception for Derrick Rose. If they sign like Quentin Grimes later, because he's their first round pick, his money is guaranteed, they can go over the cap. Am I a proponent of the Knicks going over the cap if they're not a championship level team? No, I'm not. But sometimes this is what happens in the way you got to go about doing it. So given that the Knicks, or assuming that the Knicks sign guys at the right time and structure the contracts accordingly, the Knicks can still have anywhere between $7 and $10 million available to use in free agency. So the question is, and the Knicks have one roster spot available. So the question is, who will they sign? Right? Do they go and just sign Theo Pinson and let him fill that last roster spot and let him dance around the bench a little bit more? Or do you go sign a starting point guard? I would much rather the Knicks go sign a starting point guard. And right now I'm looking at, there's probably, about 4 possibilities for the Knicks to go out and get themselves a point guard. Now, obviously, Dennis Schroeder is on the bill, or is still a free agent. We're going to talk about him. I'm going to name them all, then we'll go back and we'll talk about him. Dennis Schroeder is still a free agent. Reggie Jackson is still a free agent. Now, Kendrick Nunn is a free agent. An unrestricted free agent. And then you got, as we've been talking about for a very long time, Colin Sexton is probably available through trade. All right. So let's start with Reggie Jackson, because I think he's one you can eliminate pretty quick. Right. I think he's going back to the Los Angeles Clippers. He and Paul George are really good friends. He played his best playoff basketball with the Los Angeles Clippers. I can't see why he wouldn't go back to the Clippers. What do you think, Andy?
I totally agree. And I would even prefer it because I'm not a huge fan of Reggie Jackson. I had the chances to watch a couple of Detroit Pistons game because one of my good friends is a Pistons fan. So I watched a couple of those games to see Sadiq Bey that we loved before last year's draft, right? So I was rather looking for the rookies, but I saw Reggie Jackson even 2 seasons ago when he was a Piston. No, nothing that I would appreciate on my team, actually. So I'm happy we can cross him off the list, and I hope the Knicks brass does it as well.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think you could probably cross him off, and I don't know if the Knicks have that much interest in him anyway. The next guy, we'll talk about is Colin Sexton. Right? Obviously, he can be had through trade if the Knicks decide that they want to move, that they're willing to move a first-round draft pick, that they're willing to move, Kevin Knox or another one of the young guys. Maybe they can get Sexton. What's your thoughts on Colin Sexton? Do you think the Knicks try to make a move for Colin Sexton?
Listen, for me, Sexton has plenty of upside, like we said on weeks ago on the Sexton episode, that even if we trade for him at this point, he's liable for an extension, right? So he will get paid, but he can get paid negotiated deal after this season. So we will still have, the chances if we sign or trade for him now to even trade him at the deadline if he doesn't pan out, fit the squad or whatever Tibbs is wanting him to do. If he doesn't do that, we still have the opportunity to trade him, either if it's a negotiated already contract in the future or even not. So the next team could have the choice to re-sign him, give them that contract. And I really think that out of all these names, I think Sexton would be probably the best player to have on this current Knicks squad for that kind of money that he's getting this year. Because I don't think we're going to sign any of these guys for a $6 million contract. I would think about maybe Kendrick Nunn, but we're going to go to him, a little bit later. Also, what to mention, we have point guards on the roster because we have D-Rose, we have, McBride as a rookie. I don't think he's going to be starting in a Tibbs situation, with Tibbs, being the coach situation. I was trying to say that. I don't see Fournier as a point guard. I don't think IQ is ready to be a starting point guard for the Knicks. And Luka Vildoza, he's not going to be a starter for the Knicks. Actually, Luka Vildoza, going just back to the first segment that you said about $7.5 million to $10 million. If we would cut Luka Vildoza, that would be an extra $3 million. So that we would be like from 7 to 12 million range. I don't think they're going to do it, but it's still a possibility because his contract is unguaranteed. So it even, we would just have to swallow the money, and I don't think that would be a really bad option if they found a guy that they really could, tie the future with. So they would just bite the bullet, right?
Mm-hmm.
But, going back to Sexton, I think out of these options that we have, we could also add, Rubio, but the Cavs just traded for Rubio. So I think they got to move a point guard from Cavs. Or there's going to be Rubio or there's going to be Sexton. One of those guys got to go. They drafted a point guard and they had Garland already there. So I think one of those guys is rerouted or going to get traded.
Yeah. It's no doubt about it. Somehow, some way. And looking at the Knicks having $7 to $10 million available somewhere in there, depending on how the contracts are structured, he fits right into that slot. Where it's possible the Knicks wouldn't even have to send out a player if, I don't want to say if they didn't want to, but, if it turned out that way. Now, the Cavs aren't going to be looking for the Knicks to absorb anybody's contract. It's too small of a contract, $6 million. So they'll definitely be looking for young players. And with so many guards, it's not going to be a guard that they're looking for, right? They're not going to be looking to take Emmanuel quickly or McBride or Luka Vildoza. They'll be looking at an Obi or Kevin Knox, or that kind of a wing player. I think,
and those salary match, right? So,
right, So I guess looking at Colin Sexton, he's not the distributor that maybe you want or need, but he's young. He can get 25 a game easy. He shoots great percentages from the floor. He can penetrate to the basket, which opens up the lanes for Evan Fournier, for R.J. Barrett. I don't want to say opens up the lanes, but opens up the perimeter for those guys, as well as Julius Randle.
Yeah.
He could be a really good look for the Knicks. Not putting that out of the question by any means. I think he could be a pretty good look. We'll see if the Knicks, want to go that route with, some of the things that have opened up. And we're going to talk about that a little bit later.
Yeah, and just to add some on Sexton in one sentence, he's a willing defender. I'm not going to say he's a good defender, great defender. He's a willing defender. So, if Tibbs is going to be your coach, I think he can set him straight and his defense could be best of his career, on the courts of the NBA.
Okay, yeah. Now let's talk about Dennis Schroeder, because there's a lot to talk about with Dennis Schroeder. Dennis Schroeder. The Los Angeles Lakers right now, they're souping up their team. They just signed Carmelo Anthony to a 1-year deal. They signed Malik Monk. They had their eyes set on getting Buddy Hield as well from the Sacramento Kings. And Dennis Schroeder may be their conduit to bringing in Buddy Hield, because the Los Angeles Lakers can go over the cap to sign Dennis Schroeder. Right? They can go over the cap to sign him to the contract that he wants, and then they can trade him to another team. Now, rumors are out there that the Lakers want Buddy Hield, and they would sign Dennis Schroeder, trade him to Sacramento for Buddy Hield. But my question is, why would Sacramento do that? They already have De'Aaron Fox. They have Tyrese Halliburton. Didn't they just draft Davion Mitchell?
They did.
Right? So that's 3 point guards. Why are they bringing in Dennis Schroeder? Okay, maybe Halliburton can play off the ball, right? But with Davion Mitchell, De'Aaron Fox, and Dennis Schroeder, all these guys are around the same size. That wouldn't make sense unless one of those guys would be on the move someplace else, or if a third team got involved and Dennis Schroeder moved on to that third team and other players moved on to Sacramento.
A wing.
Right.
The Kings need a wing. They just signed 2 centers in Holmes and Len.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, they got that position sorted. They got the guard sorted. I think they are really looking for a wing. So whoever has a wing, has the chance to get the dibs on Schroeder. And just to mention, Schroeder is looking for around $20 million a year, which is exactly the number that Buddy Hield has. So those salaries would match. So if you want to have dibs on Schroeder, just get yourself, around $20 million in salary cap at wing position, and just, go to the dance with those teams.
Right. But the Knicks can get close to that. They can get close. Right? So if you look at okay, the Knicks have 7 to 10 million. Right?
Yeah.
If they waive Luka Vildoza, they can free up another 3 million. And then if they include Kevin Knox in a trade, they can get close to that $20 million so that they can help facilitate a 3-way trade between the Lakers, the Kings, and the Knicks. Could that be? And then, of course, I don't know, would the Knicks have to throw in a second round pick or something like that to make it work?
Yeah, it could work, Sim. And also they could just send Vildoza there, because his cap would be 3.3 million that he's going to make this year, but he's unguaranteed. So they would just trade him and the team could cut him and have it, just swallow the, bite the bullet. So, and that would be that 8.5 million, right? So you still got to come up with a little bit of money, because if we would go the route that we sign D-Rose after we spend the salary cap, that would mean that we would have to come up with a player to trade to fill out that, at least to around $17 million. So we still need, a player to sign. If I'm correct, we might be able to trade Alec Burks or Nerlens Noel there, because they will be re-signing with the Knicks. And I don't think that moratorium of 90 days, like it was previous seasons, that have to be kept, because they're staying with the same team. So, but, I'm not 100% sure on that, but I think, if we would need a little bit money, I think we could get one of those players' contracts and then ship him.
Yeah. And, and I see leads in the Knicks in the chat, saying that Dennis Schroeder isn't a starter or anything like that. He may or may not. We don't know. I don't know. But the Knicks could very well be looking to make a move for Dennis Schroeder. I don't know if he's the exact type of point guard that you need. Kind of the same as Colin Sexton. I don't know if Colin Sexton shoots better percentages than Dennis Schroeder does. Dennis Schroeder has, let's put it like this, and you guys heard me say all day yesterday, Dennis Schroeder has more playoff experience than any player on this New York Knicks team. Any player. Since he's been in the league, he's missed the playoffs one season. Some people can say, well, he was part of good teams. Yeah, he was part of good teams. He was also a contributor on those good teams, a major contributor on those good teams. You know, and I don't think you can discount that. I don't think you can discount it at all. And he's still, you know, he's 28 years old. So, you know, he fits that time. You know, Evan Fournier is like 27, 28 years old. You know, kind of fits that timeline of players in age. Julius Randle was, you know, 26, 27 years old. And I don't know, you know, do the Knicks look at him as a guy that they want to spend $20 million on? I don't know if they want to spend $20 million. I think, you know, there's a way they could get it done. I don't know if they want to spend $20 million on Dennis Schroeder, though. I'm not spending $20 million on Dennis Schroeder.
Yeah, I think that's not the priority, let's call it that way. But if they, you know, because listen, the other side of the, you know, of the coin, or whatever you say it, is Schroeder is probably running out of options here. If he wants to sign as a free agent and get that 20 million, I don't think there's that many teams that, one, need a point guard for 20 million, which is a starter. I don't think there's teams that have that many free cap space. After this Bulls deal, the Spurs don't have the money. You know, I don't think Detroit has the money because they signed Olynyk. So basically, there's really not that many teams that even have the salary cap for him to sign as a straight up free agent there.
Right.
So, you know, he might be, you know, willing to take a 1-year deal and take the max money he can get, and that will be probably from the Knicks. So maybe he would have to take that $9.5 million or $10 million, whatever we could give him, and then just, you know, try to, you know, get that bigger contract next season. He's a little bit late to the dance. I'm not going to lie. If I was Schroeder, I would be mad, or I would be, you know, calling my agent. You better, you know, work out a sign and trade with the Lakers, because, and then again, listen, the Lakers don't have a favor for Schroeder, right? They can tell him, listen, if you want the money, we're just gonna sign and trade you, but to the team of our choice, right? Because we want something for ourselves. So they're gonna trade him to the Kings. They're gonna trade them to any, you know, team willing to give up a great shooter, because I think the Lakers are gonna look for that. And, you know, that team will have to, you know, want Dennis Schroeder. So that I'm not, you know, I don't think Dennis is happy with the situation currently.
Yeah, because I don't know, maybe they've had conversations with the Los Angeles Lakers already to say, yeah, we'll work out a sign and trade and try to get you some money. I just don't know. I don't know what team is going to pay that amount of money for him. Like I said, I can't see it working with Sacramento unless there's a 3-team trade involved, because they already have so many point guards. I just don't see. I don't know. I don't see how it's going to work out for Dennis Schroeder in making $20 million a year. I don't see it happening.
No, but listen, if Dinwiddie is looking for that 20 million, they're going to go on a bidding war between each other.
Yeah. I mean, Dinwiddie looks like he's going to be in Washington.
Yeah, with the Wizards.
Wizards. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but listen, the Wizards are in perfect situation to get Schroeder as well, if they would even want, because you remember the Lakers are doing the sign and trade for Westbrook.
Yes.
Right. So that would mean that the Lakers could keep a Contavious Caldwell-Pope or a Montrezl Harrell and use them in another trade.
Right.
So that would be a perfect situation. Unless, you know, Bradley Beal just loves Dinwiddie so much that he puts pressure on the general management to get him Dinwiddie and not Dennis Schroeder.
And, you know, let me tell you, that could be because they want to make Bradley Beal happy, right? The Wizards want to make him happy because they want him to stick around. And if he wants Spencer Dinwiddie, I think they'll probably go out and get Spencer Dinwiddie. But you're right. You know, with that Westbrook deal, Maybe they could find out a way to work Dennis Schroeder into it. I don't know. We'll see. I don't think he's going to be without the sign and trade. He's not making $20 million.
Yeah, that's definitely the case. And same, what we got to remember that these all these deals, signings, and whatever, these are in principle.
Yeah.
They're gonna hit, and the pen is gonna touch the paper on the 6th. So they still got 3 days to get this sorted, to tweak them, to exchange more teams, and try to reroute a couple of guys here and there. It's not going to be probably in the major trades and stuff. But for example, this one with Schroeder going to the Wizards, if Beal accepts that, I think that's the easiest way for Schroeder to get those big bucks, because that would get the possibility for the Lakers to keep one of those guys. Maybe not Kuzma, but probably a KCP or a Harrell, and just use them in another trade, or just keep Kuzma and trade him for Buddy Hield straight out, right? So
okay.
That would be perfect for the Lakers. I hope they're not going to help the Lakers like that.
The Lakers are one of those teams that for some reason other teams around the league seems to help them out. Every other year, they seem to get help from teams around the league. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is, but it seems to happen. Now, let's talk about this other guy, because, the more that I look at it, I think this guy could be a perfect fit for this team. And that's Kendrick Nunn. Right? Kendrick Nunn was just the Miami Heat pulled their qualifying offer for Kendrick Nunn, making him an unrestricted free agent. I don't know what he's worth on the market and what teams are going to, what teams are going to offer him and think he's worth. But when you look at Kendrick Nunn, first of all, I love the organization he's coming from, right? He's coming from Miami. So he's already used to that hard-nosed defense, making sure that he's in shape. I mean, that's what he's used to. And so coming to the Knicks is an easy transition for a guy like Kendrick Nunn. Last season, Kendrick Nunn averaged 14.6 points a game. He shot 48.5% from the field. He shot 38.1% from three. Now, he wasn't an assist getter, but he's a hard-nosed guard that can score the basketball. I think he can man your offense. Listen, Tom Thibodeau didn't rely on his point guards to get assists last season. It's probably not going to change this season. You know what I mean? Kendrick Nunn, out of all these options that we just discussed, now that he's available, I feel like it's probably the best option.
I'm not gonna lie, Sim. If we're not doing a sign and trade for Sexton, I think it might be the best option available there on the free agent market, straight up free agent market, without no sign and trades. Listen, I think also money-wise, I think he would be willing to take that 10, even a little bit, let's say it's 9.5. I think he would be willing to take that 9.5 for the first year, and then again become an unrestricted free agent, or even get him a 2-year deal that, or the team option or the player option, whatever. Because, that they could go, from 9.5 million, the raise would be 8.5%. So that would make him barely $11 million. But for that money, I think Kendrick Nunn, as a point guard and tip system, like you said, that he doesn't use their point guard, for any specific way, just bring up the ball and pass it up for the playmakers, which this season will probably be, again, Julius Randle with major addition of Evan Fournier to the offense. I think, a point guard with Tibbs is not a necessity. That's why also I think that we might be pushing the panic button a little bit too soon on that the promise that we were thinking that they're gonna go and get us a point guard. I think Tibbs is I'm not thinking that they were thinking of bringing back Elfrid Payton, but I think that this system doesn't require a great all-star point guard, just a regular guy that just can be the fifth man on the court for you, we'll be okay with Tibbs.
Yeah. And big shout out to Raw Hebrew Remnant. Thank you for the super chat. He said the Bulls improved, but need this season to mesh. As for the Knicks, watch out for Kendrick Nunn. Yeah, I think he could be a really good option. When you know, I just read off the stats for Kendrick Nunn. I mean, 2 years in the league, he's averaging, you know, just about 15 points a game over those 2 years in the league. Guillermo, I seen Leeds and the Knicks in the chat say, you know, he's a straight gunner. He averaged 12 attempts last season. I don't know if that's a straight gunner. And he shot 48.5% from the field. So it's not like he was chucking up shots and he wasn't making shots. Shot 93% last season from the free throw line. You know, I really think the Knicks need to look that way. I just don't know, you know, will there be a lot of competition for Kendrick Nunn for the Knicks? And what do you think does he fit into that 7 to 10 million? Will the Knicks have to find a way to
I think,
free up a little bit more money?
Yeah, out of this list, Sim that we mentioned, I think he might be the only one to be willing to get that money. Take that money, I mean. So, you know, unless we want to go down the ladder and look for an Alfred Payton, Ish Smith, you know, those kind of tier point guards. I think Nunn might be, you know, a little bit above that tier. So, yeah, I would be happy with Kendrick Nunn for that kind of money.
And, you know, he's 25 years old, you know, so he fits that age range with Julius Randle, you know, with Evan Fournier now. I think the Knicks need to go ahead and make that move. I think too. They need to make that move. What other competition for Kendrick Nunn is there going to be for the Knicks?
I'm pretty sure that, you know, most teams that had those point guard spots open, they fill them or with trade or with some kind of off-season moves already. We know that, you know, the Heat, that's why they're cutting. That's why they're, you know, taking back the qualifying offer for Nunn, because they re-signed Dragic just to trade him for Lowry. So they have that point, you know, that position sorted. You know, looking like team, I'm going down the list, basically. I don't think, you know, Atlanta doesn't need him. The Celtics don't need a point guard. You know, what Washington needs a point guard, but I think they're going to go a bit, you know, like the Dwayne Dinwiddie or the Schroeder guy. I don't think they're going to be looking for Kendrick Nunn to be a starter alongside Bradley Beal. You know, the 76ers, they have Ben Simmons, which is also, you know, a trade candidate, but I don't see that trade happening anytime soon.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're looking for a haul of players, the picks and players that they're asking for a major haul of things for in return for Simmons. You know, the Knicks, you know, that's the open position here. But, you know, then going a little bit south, the Magic, no. The Hornets, no, they have that sorted. The Pistons have, you know, Cade, and they have Killian, and they have, you know, those young guys there. The Bulls, not an option. The Pacers, they got Brogdon.
Right.
Who's there in the East? Yeah, so, you know, in the East, I don't think it's only basically the Knicks and the Wizards at this point.
I
think the Wizards are going to go, you know.
Yeah, the only other thing I would say is maybe Miami, although they released a qualifying offer, you know, they've announced his rights, and he became an unrestricted free agent, he could still re-sign with Miami.
Yeah, he can, but listen to him. They also didn't. I don't think they have Oladipo's contract sorted there. I think he was in an expiring deal. I don't know what's his health situation currently, but I think, you know, if they had to pick between Oladipo and Nunn, I think they would go with Oladipo. So just looking at that, I think the East would be basically, you know, the Bucks. The Bucks definitely won't need a Kendrick Nunn. So I think the East would be basically closed for a guy like him. The West, probably no, not the Kings, the Lakers. The Lakers maybe, but they have 18 players, 7 former all-stars, whatever. So I don't think they're going to need a point guard. The Clippers, but we agreed that Reggie Jackson is going to go back there. The Spurs, they have a couple of guards there already. The Mavs, they have Luka and they have a couple of guards, so I don't think they're going to use a guy like Kendrick Nunn. I think really it's the market for point guards might be slow, and they gotta go lower on their contracts and their demands just to get a job.
Yeah. The option is going to be there for the Knicks. Then I agree with you. I think the option is going to be there. Will they pounce on it? We'll see. I see people in the chat saying that Kendrick Nunn isn't a passer. With the way that I'll say it again, with the way that Tom Thibodeau runs his offense, I don't know if you need to have one.
And Sim, it was this basically a really similar situation in Miami. The offense ran through other players, not through Nunn. Right. So listen, he would be coming from one situation to another, but it would be really a really basically the same role. So I'm not thinking that it's actually a bad thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think it would be a good thing. Listen, the reason why Derrick Rose, the reason why, so many people last season argued about Elfrid Payton starting over Derrick Rose, and the reason why is because they wanted Derrick Rose coming off the bench. Now, in lieu of Elfrid Payton, if you have a Kendrick Nunn there, you're getting at least point production. And a guy that can shoot the three from that starting point guard spot. And if he's not getting done what you need to get done, then you take him out and you put Derrick Rose in the game. Now, the issue is you bring in Kendrick Nunn. That probably makes McBride a situational player, at least at the moment. Right? Because Derrick Rose would go to the bench. You'd have Derrick Rose, you'd have Emmanuel Quickley, unless McBride took Quickley's spot. And, it's going to take some time, take a little bit of time for Tom Thibodeau to build up that trust in McBride. Right? So I think it would begin with Emmanuel Quickley, that being Quickley's spot, and then McBride would have to knock him off to get to that spot. So in that second unit, I think you'd be looking at Derrick Rose, Emmanuel Quickley, Alec Burks, Obi Toppin, Nerlens Noel.
Yeah, the rotation of the bench would be basically the same as last year's, which is a good thing because I really think chemistry is undervalued by fans. So I think that would be a good thing for the Knicks.
Right. Now, so let me ask you, a starting lineup of Kendrick Nunn, Evan Fournier at the shooting guard, RJ at the 3, Julius Randle at the 4, Mitchell Robinson at the 5. What's your thoughts on that, Andy?
Sim, when you read it like that, it's definitely better than last year's. Because I think even the combination, the small ball play, the play between Bullock and Randle was a key to the offense, right? But Bullock was a one-trick pony. He basically could shoot. And, Julius had to do all the work to get him open, just do that handoff, and he just, took that 3. Meanwhile, Fournier's repertoire on the offensive end is way bigger. He can drive, he can score, he can pass out and stuff like that. So I think just going at the positions, Nunn is an upgrade over Elfrid. Fournier is an upgrade over Bullock. The rest basically stays the same.
Right.
So, seems like we will be better. But looking, at our record last year and the seeding that we have, the 4th seed in the East, I was thinking that was a major overachievement as far as for the whole team, right? and even for the coaching staff. I think they wouldn't. I bet you if they could, predict a seed, I don't think they even wished or dreamed about the 4th seed on the East last season before the season started. So I'm guessing even if we would be around the 6th seed, that would be still, I think that should be the goal, just not to be in the play-ins, because that's 1-2 games and you can go home. So I think, with that squad, if we would make it safely to the top 6, I would be happy with that kind of, result after the regular season.
Yeah. I see people in the chat saying Kendrick Nunn is inconsistent. Someone said he's not an upgrade over Alfred Payton. If he's not an upgrade over Alfred Payton, I don't know what basketball you've been watching, my friend. I think it was Steve Larson who said that. If that's the case, I don't know what basketball you've been watching, but I'm going to ask you to watch the NBA. All right? That's what I'm going to ask you to do. Watch the NBA. I don't know. We'll see. I think it's a definite upgrade. Does it put us, does it put it in championship contention? No, it doesn't.
Yeah, but Sim, just to also trigger that thing. Even if we would sign Colin Sexton, trade for Colin Sexton, right, or get Spencer Dinwiddie, which is the other point guard left, that might be better than Kendrick Nunn. That acquisition still doesn't put us over the top, right? So listen, we might be a seed higher, but I don't think we're making like the top 3 on the East.
Right.
With those guys. So I don't think it might be worth it to go after those guys. I mean, doing Dinwiddie and Schroeder, right? Just to try to manage, I don't know, trade guys or whatever to get those point guards.
Right.
I think Sexton, I'm cool with Sexton. But the Dinwiddie or Schroeder for $20 million a year. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Especially, I mean, either one of those guys, Schroeder, I'm not, I don't want to pay him $20 million a year. Dinwiddie, I'm not, I need to see him come back and play another year, after his injury. You know what I mean? So, I don't know. We will see what the Knicks plan to do, ladies and gentlemen. And if anything else happens with the New York Knicks, we'll definitely report to you on anything that happens. And if we hear anything that might happen, we'll come on and report that to you as well. I think the Knicks should be in search of a point guard. I know Legion of the Knicks says the Knicks need more wings. I tend to think that we need an established point guard, a tough point guard, because I don't want to see Derrick Rose try to go 35 minutes a night. It's not what it is. I don't think that his body can handle 35 minutes a night. That just is what it is. So we will see, ladies and gentlemen. Be on the lookout. Like I said, from now until Thursday, we'll be keeping you updated on everything going on. But on Thursday, me and Andy will be doing a breakdown on Quentin Grimes and Miles McBride as we do a coach's corner. All right. We were going to do it today, but it kind of made more sense to wait until Thursday when we got closer to Summer League kicking off. All right. And I want to give a big shout out to Mr. William 1072. He said, if we have multiple players on the floor who can in some way initiate an offense, Randall, RJ Fournier, your point guard needs to defend and shoot when the ball rotates. For that, Nunn fits the bill. I agree 100%. Nunn fits the bill. He can defend. He can shoot the basketball. He's tough. He can get to the rack. He's coming from an organization that is kind of a mirror image of what we're doing in New York right now. You know what I mean? I think Kendrick Nunn, and he'd probably come for the right price. I think Kendrick Nunn might be a pretty good fit. Might be a pretty good fit for the Knicks. But, ladies and gentlemen, I will talk to you later. I appreciate your time. Please make sure you subscribe to the channel right now if you're not subscribed. There's 800 people in here. I know all 800 people aren't subscribers. So if you're not a subscriber, please subscribe to the channel right now so you can stay updated with everything going on with the New York Knicks, and you hear some good banter and you can hear some good debates and arguments. Trust me, we argue a lot if you like that sort of thing. All right, we're out of here, ladies and gentlemen. Any last words, Andy, before we get out of here?
See you Thursday.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. Peace.
And BK, nothing but Knicks. When send past the assist, you know that it's #1 show that breaks down the game. If you can't play defense, stay out my way. Dribble the ball, come down the lane. 5 seconds on the shot clock. Who gon' win us the game? You wanna hear Nick updates and trade rumors? Post-game reviews, this the place to tune in. So tell a friend just to keep the ball moving. Like the page if you feeling the movement. Every game we coming to win. Give us a sub like a player that came off the bench. This is NBK, nothing but Knicks.